remove the complete top of our bed, fix our mistakes. The Honda Fireblade engine is going to be right where I'm sat. Welcome back to K & Builds. If you're new here, you might be wondering why our Honda K-Truck is looking like this, so let me explain. So in the last K-Truck video, you saw me and Matt remove the complete top of our bed, as we do have a vision and a good idea to what we're going to do. But in a couple of weeks, hopefully, the Honda Fireblade engine is going to be right where I'm sat, and hopefully we can get it running in this truck. But to start on today's video, what I'm going to do is remove these top panels, because they're going to be replaced, and try and tidy up some of the pieces on the back of our truck, ready for us to start some fabrication work. So them pieces came out without too much trouble, but there are a few pieces which we got to fix our mistakes. We made a couple of mistakes, and when we were cutting up the panel on top to make our lives a bit easier, we did get a bit greedy and we ended up cutting through a few pieces. So we have got to weld these back up, and we've got to weld them back up. We'll do that a little bit later on. The plan next is to have a look and see if there's anything extra I can remove. Inside these rails there are some brackets which we might be able to reuse for our engine. But if there are any easy brackets I can take off by drilling a couple of spot welds, then I'm going to do that now. And that should clear us a bit of room and get a few unnecessary bits out of the way. So let's see what else we can remove. So we've drilled and removed a lot of the unnecessary pieces inside the chassis rails and underneath. There are a few extras probably underneath the bed, but we're going to have to lift that up, really speaking, to get to it. There are still things we're going to remove, but for the time being, that's enough for us to make a start and do some fabrication bits. But for now, so we can get rid of some of the pieces underneath, what we're going to do, Matt and I are going to lift it up in the air and put a table underneath the rear axle. This truck is fairly light, so putting it on a table is not exactly going to do any harm, and that way it should be up fairly high so we can get underneath and remove small bits. So let's get on the table. I've now got the welder out and I'm going to start to repair them deep cuts that we accidentally cut into the chassis rails when removing the top panel of the bed. All I've got to do is weld along the cut and reinforce it back up. There are still some pieces we want to remove as well, but I'll go through them as we go. What might seem like not a lot of time in the time lapses, it takes hours of work. So taking off the top, all them random pieces in the top, drilling out all the spot welds, takes so long. So that's why you're only seeing some time lapses, just because it takes us so long to do some things. But today, just carrying on, more progress. So let's just crack on. So for some reason the welder seems to have decided to stop working for the time being, so I'm going to have to check a few things on that. If not, we might have to get a new one, as I think it's fairly old. For those of you who are new, we're putting a Honda Fireblade engine in this, and the chances are the engine is basically going to sit similar to where this beam is here. And I think it's going to be a bit tall, so it's going to have to come up through, and basically this beam is in the way. So the plan is now I am going to cut off this beam, Yeah, we know it's a structural beam, but this will be basically replaced with a tube frame when we come to mount the engine, so we will end up reinforcing this back up. We also have the two beams here and it's still connected at the back, so nothing should twist or anything. What I'm going to do next is cut this beam off. One, it gives us more access, and I can also get underneath now and start to remove them once this beam is off. Without further ado, let's get this beam gone. So as you can see now, the panel is out, and that has given us a lot more room for putting this engine in. So the plan now is to basically, I'm not going to do it now, I'm going to do it obviously when the welder's fixed, and we are waiting on some sheet metal to be delivered. But now I can get inside here, I can remove all of these pieces on the bottom as they're never going to be used. But as I said, the plan is to basically match this up and this up exactly, so we've got one solid piece. And then eventually when we come to put the engine in, we'll end up either adding a few bars across the middle to add extra support, or wherever we decide with the engine, but this will be reinforced later on. As I said, I don't think it would necessarily need it, but it was there, so we will end up reinforcing it some way or another. But these two pieces here and the back, because the back will end up being reinforced as well, so it will all be solid. The subframe will also add some strengthening, because currently there's nothing really joining the two chassis rails other than the axle itself, whereas for us we want to bolt the subframe directly to the chassis rails. So when they're bolted, that's going to add a whole lot of structure here, keeping everything nice and solid on the rear. So for the time being, let's just get a few more of these panels off underneath and create a bit more room. So I filled in the majority of the holes from removing the spot welds on the front half. A couple left to do, but there's no point in showing you many more as they're quite tedious. But what I'm kind of going to move on to next is replacing some of the rust that we want to get rid of. Firstly, there's two sections in this rear chassis which I'm going to cut out and replace. As you can see, there's one on the near side there. It's quite rusty, so we're just going to lob it off and weld a new plate in, because we'd have to fill the hole in anyway, so we might as well just put some fresh. So in order to do that, I'm going to cut the square out, use some sort of masking tape or something to get my shape, and then I've ordered some new material which is being delivered now. I'm going to cut that out and hopefully get that welded in. So, but without further ado, let's remove all this rust. I'm also going to fix some of the dodgy repairs that have already been done to the chassis, so let me show you. So as you can see, someone's obviously made a patch to repair some of the rust, but whether or not they obviously didn't have access to the inside, but this is quite rusty, so we're just going to cut a little bit more. There's a crack there, so we'll probably cut past that and replace this piece here, and on the other side as well, it's a bit worse. So the plan is basically to follow this repair that they've already done all the way up. And they did cut there, so the plan is to follow that cut on, cut this out, and basically replace from here and all of this as well. You wouldn't have seen this from the outside, but we have the luxury of being able to do it now, because obviously the top of the chassis is off, so we have access to everything. So we're just going to fix as much of the rust as possible and make this chassis as solid as possible for the years to come. So I'm just going to cut them pieces out as well while we're here. So I've got one of the first patch pieces to go in one of the new areas. So now it's time to weld it in. Just going to use some magnets to try and hold it in place, try and get as best as possible. Might have to take a bit of shape in, bit of bend in to follow the shape of this, but it looks fairly flat. But let's just try it and see what we can do.
So high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you.
So I finished the majority of the patchwork and filling in all of the holes from where we got the spot welds out. So next on the list is to get this piece filled in and get it back structurally sound.
I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world but keep the sky on your mind.
So after God knows how many hours worth of work, I think I filled in all of the spot welds that we drilled through the main part of the chassis. Obviously I left the ones on the top of the rails, as we're probably going to use them to spot weld the panels back on the top. There are a couple of things I want to still do yet, so let me show you. So some of the welding isn't pretty, but it does the job. We're still yet to grind the underside, but as long as the underside is nice and smooth, the backside we're not too bothered how it looks, as long as it's structurally good. That's all that matters. So moving around to the sides, as you can see now, this panel here is replaced. Again, we need to get rid of all of this. This was the second side, which I'm slowly getting better. The welds are slowly getting there, and they're slowly improving. A few of the patch pieces that we've removed, there's a piece there. There are two sections we need to fix yet, there and there, but we're struggling to find something yet to cut in here, as we can't get the angle grinder down in this gap, so we will fix them in a later video. So that wraps up today's video. There is still plenty of work we have to do, so make sure you stick around, maybe drop a subscribe so you can catch our next video. In these videos you can help us out massively. It's not that we don't know what we're doing, but if you can see something that maybe might help us out, make things a lot easier, then make sure to drop a comment and, you know, give us a bit of advice. We're always reading the comments and seeing what people have said. So if there's anything you think we can do to make things better, then make sure to help us out and drop a comment. As I said, still plenty of work left to do. There's lots of things I want to fill in, lots of holes we want to get rid of, and a fair bit of fab work left to do, so there will be a later video on that. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and we will catch you in the next one.